Welcome back to the Reach Every Student podcast. I'm your host, Jon Bergmann, longtime teacher, 40th year in education, and we are back for season 4. Today I want to share with you how you can help yourself and your students navigate the world of AI with a somewhat old hack. I believe the AI ship has sailed. If you send home complex homework assignments, many of your students will most likely use AI to do the work. So what should you do? Guys, if you are sending home an essay, right, or whatever, some kind of a written response, and you think and you expect the students to turn it in digitally, that ship has sailed. You can't do that anymore if you are expecting most students to do academic and to be academically integrity or whatever. So how can we ensure that students actually learn in class? Now, let me give you a little background about my journey with AI. About a year and a half ago, my principal asked me to dive deep into AI to help prepare our teachers for the AI wave. At first, I thought AI would be a revolutionary tool, personalize my students' learning. So I played with AI, I created AI tutors, I read the blogs, and I enthusiastically jumped into AI. But as the year, that last school year, progressed, and as I used AI in my classroom, I changed my tune. One pivotal moment was when I was watching one of our top students working to solve a complex physics problem. She had her laptop open and too quickly, she asked ChatGPT to help her solve the problem. Now this student could have solved that problem if she just sat with it. Just for me, 2 more minutes maybe. Her use of AI shortchanged her learning. She did not go through what I would call productive struggle. When we learn, we need to struggle at first, and over time, that struggle becomes less and less and less. That's how learning takes place. In another instance, I had created some AI tutors to help a different class, my geology students. I originally designed them to be done in class, but then some of my students told me that they would just do it at home. But then when I realized what they were doing is they wanted to do it at home so that they could then use AI to cheat on the AI assignment. I was frustrated. Now, hear me carefully. Big-handed founding flip learning, right? I'm not a Luddite. I've used technology in my classroom for decades. I know that AI is not going away, but I must find a way to teach in this disruptive time. But I also see utility in AI in specific settings. So I plan to use AI in my classroom, but under a much more controlled circumstance. So here's my big idea. It's the old hack I talked about at the beginning, right? Flip learning, the basics of flip learning. Let me explain flip learning to you in a quick nutshell. During my first 19 years of teaching, I taught traditionally. I stood in front of my students, I taught them science stuff. And then I sent them home to do more cognitively complex stuff. The next day, students would theoretically come back with completed homework. But of course, they didn't. Many struggled with it. And I invariably spent my first few minutes of each class reviewing what they didn't understand. And then during my 19th year, Aaron Sams and I helped pioneer the flip learning method because we realized that the traditional method wasn't working. So we asked our students to do the hard stuff at home. And then they often got lost and struggled. And the big idea of flip learning is that you have students do the easy stuff as homework. That's the introduction to the material through a reading or a short video. And then you do the hard stuff in class. Now, we've often summarized this with 3 shapes of Bloom's taxonomy. Now, remember Bloom's taxonomy, it's traditionally pictured as a pyramid with remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, creating, reading up from the bottom to the top. And if you'd been in my class those first 19 years, I lectured in my class, and I did the remembering, understanding, the presentation of new content, and then we had a little bit of class time left to apply and analyze and evaluate and create, but most of that stuff got sent home. But in a flipped classroom, you flip Bloom's taxonomy, so think of an inverted pyramid. So there's more class time to do the hard stuff. And then as we thought more deeply, we actually thought the ideal shape. Now picture this. You still have Bloom's taxonomy, remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, creating. But instead, it's a diamond shape where the biggest area of the shape is at the apply and analyze regions. So if you go to my class, which I flip my class, of course, is in my flipped classrooms, is the bulk of my class time is spent on applying and analyzing. and less time is on remembering and understanding. My students are going to get that as pre-learning. And I think we need to rediscover flipped learning in this age of AI, right? In my high-performing school, we expect a lot of our students. So they're expected to come prepared for class. And the beauty of flipped learning is that its students' homework is not to do the cognitively complex tasks that AI can do. So they're expected now to get introduced to the class content by reading a short article or watching an instructional video. And then they come to class to do the hard stuff. And this frees up significant class time for students to think deeply about the subject. In my case, we do more physics problems or experiments. In my geology class, students will sit and discuss the reasons why one volcano will explode and the other volcano will ooze lava and not explode. If you teach ELA, you'll have time for your students to write essays in your presence without the aid of AI. If you're a world language teacher, you can have them do assignments without using a translator. You can have them speaking the language. If you teach history, you can have a debate about the causes of World War II or whatever. I mean, flipped learning needs to be rediscovered, is what I'm saying, in this age of AI. You see, the key is we can't send home the hard stuff anymore. So I encourage you to learn more about this methodology, because it really is a way that will address the biggest issues that you're facing with AI. Now, let me have just a quick chat to those of you who are the big AI enthusiasts. Those of you who are arguing that we must incorporate AI into our classrooms, that students need to learn how to use AI and how to use it as a tool, first of all, if that's your deal, I don't totally disagree with you. I will be using AI tutors in my classroom on a limited basis. You see, I see the value of AI tutors to help personalize learning. But I also know that I'm teaching people with young brains that need to develop their own neural networks and process their own learning. You know, in a previous podcast, I've shared some of the research about the diminishing critical thinking skills of our students. I have this podcast, AI will stupefy our students unless we do these 6 things. So I would encourage you to go back and hear some of my reasonings on why I think we have to be careful with what we do. And there's a new article that came out, Barbara Oakley, who wrote this article called The Memory Paradox, Why Our Brains Need Knowledge in the Age of AI. And what she argues that we need to have people need to build up their own individual knowledge base so that they can evaluate AI. And so it actually means that learning and traditional education is actually more important. Another study by John Hattie and others basically said that AI is an amazing thing for those who are experts, but for novices it can degrade their intelligence. And we teach novices. And so since we're teaching novices, we've got to develop their brains so that then when they get into the world of AI, they can use it to its most powerful extent. Hey, thanks for listening. That's kind of it for today. I encourage you to hit the subscribe button and share it with your friends. It's super easy, regardless of what app you're using. Additionally, if you're interested in AI-proofing your classroom, I have created some courses, one about flipped learning, on how to use flipped learning in this AI world with the best practices of flipped learning. That course, I've got one for both higher education and for K-12 that I think you will find very insightful so that you'll know how to do this, because you're going to have a million questions. I was just with a friend, or a new friend. I just had met this guy, I guess, and he heard that I was in the founding of flipped learning, and he's a teacher in the local area here. And he said, I got to ask these questions. And I said, here you go. And he's taking the course now. So I would encourage you to think about that as well. And that can be found at jonbergmann.com. So now I want you to go out and reach every student. So find more at reacheverystudent.com. Jon Bergmann out.